Hello, and welcome to the Conservative Christian Commentator. I'm your host, Mike Croft, and I want to take a moment today to talk about honey. But before I do that, I want to wish everyone a Happy New Year. And also, if you believe that this video was educational and informative, I would ask that you subscribe if you believe that it actually earned your subscription. But if you don't believe that it earned your subscription, and in fact, if you think that it earned an unsubscription, then feel free to do as you please. Feel free to unsubscribe if you'd like. So now we got the awkward stuff out of the way. Again, Happy New Year. This is going up on New Year's Day. And I want to talk a moment about honey. Now, I know I'm really late to the whole honey scandal. I think the video premiered the video that kind of started it all premiered I want to say 12 or 13 days ago. And that video has since done 12 million views, which is really, really good considering the channel that created it had 385,000 subscribers or something like that at the time of the posting. Now, the channel that posted it is called Megalag, and I highly recommend you search up and watch his video on exactly what is wrong with honey. I am going to do a brief overview for the sake of everyone who may not have heard about it, but his video is excellent and I highly recommend watching it. It's very well produced, very well researched as far as I can tell, and I want to promote good work. Now, all the way back in I think I heard about honey 2016, 17-ish. I don't know exactly when it came out, but as soon as it came out and they started doing influencer ad reads, I heard the words free and saves you money and was suspicious. Now, honey claims on the surface to be a free browser extension that finds coupon codes and automatically applies them to your purchases at checkout, saving you as much money as possible. Sounds great on the surface, but my dad, who was a cybersecurity specialist, told me, I think he still is a cybersecurity specialist, I don't exactly know what he does, but he's very, very deep into cybersecurity in a lot of areas. And he has always drilled into me from childhood the suspicion of things that are free but claim to save you money, or claim to give you money. There's no such thing as a free lunch, and he was the one who taught me the phrase, before it was really popular, of, well, if there's something that's free, you are the product. And that's pretty much held true. So I was very suspicious of honey because my main question is, so there's lots of things that go into running an extension for a browser. You have to have servers to track your database. You have to have computers to actually look for things and make scans on the internet. All of these things cost lots of money. So how in the heck is honey making money if their browser extension is free? This could have been solved if it was a paid browser extension, maybe a browser extension with a subscription. I think that would have been a much nicer business model, and much more transparent, knowing now what I know. But that was what honey claimed to do. And it's quite possible, and in fact I think highly probable, that in the very beginning it actually did that. But that quickly changed, and we have seen some of the actual problems that have arisen. So, quick overview of what Megalag covered, and again, this does not substitute for watching his actual video. Highly recommend that you go watch him. He apparently has a part 2 and 3 coming out, and I think that will be really epic. But to essentially go over what he was talking about in the video, honey makes money in 2 primary ways. One, it poaches affiliate codes from content creators who promote their product, or even just any content creators in general. If you have honey installed on your browser, it will poach their code. And the way they do that is very sneaky, but essentially what it does is it takes the money that the content creator would have made off of the sale from persuading you to actually buy that product, the commission that they would have made, and it just rakes it into its own bank account. And sometimes gives you back 1 or 2% in return, called honey gold, which is not great. But aside from that, honey actually has another way of making money that is honestly much more deceptive, and I didn't think it was going to get much more deceptive than that, but it does. So Honey's not only screwing over the influencers who they pay to promote their product, they're also screwing over you and me. And how they're doing that is they allow businesses to pay them to essentially have a Honey subscription where they get to control every single coupon code that is entered into Honey's database for their business. So it's if, let's say, Walmart wanted to pay Honey and say only have the 5% coupon code instead of this 40% coupon code that we have for clearance, only show the 5% coupon code, Honey would go, okay, yes sir, we're going to do that. And that's a problem because that's the exact opposite of what they were doing to protect the consumer. Now, this is interesting because Honey actually does not really do what they say. In fact, they kind of do the opposite. And my other question for them was, how do they get the money to pay the influencers to promote their product? Well, this is exactly how they do it. So they're not only screwing over the influencers, but they're also screwing over the customer. And there's actually evidence to support that they are also screwing over the businesses that refuse to participate in their Honey Gold program by essentially doing exactly what they say they're doing in all their ads and finding every single coupon code and using that to promote their coupon code to their some like 20 million user base. And all of a sudden you have 20 million people using a coupon code that was meant to clear out a couple of items that needed to go, and that kind of wrecks your business model. So that can really screw over some companies and just completely silence them. And usually, of course, the way it works is it always happened to smaller companies that didn't want to participate, and Honey just essentially blackmailed them with that. So really not good stuff. That last bit that about like blackmailing and stuff, that was not covered in the video. I suspect that it's to come, and I hope that he does a just as good a job with that video as he's done with this one. But I, again, highly recommend watching it. And so here's, from my perspective, the way I kind of see things is I have the same suspicions about Honey that I have about Ground News and a few other free services or subscription services that claim to do all kinds of crazy things. And I'll make a whole other video on Ground News, but quick sidetrack. Ground News essentially claims to tell you the biases of the news sources that you're reading and show you news sources from all across the spectrum of political opinions. They claim to show you left news sources, right news sources, centrist news sources, and that just kind of rubs me the wrong way because it sounds great until you ask one question. And that one question is, how are they getting to the conclusion that a certain source is left or center or right? We're talking Overton window here. Basically, are they actually going to correctly designate something as left or right? And how do we even know that their designation is correct? And they claim to use like three different independent companies, and that's not good enough. Because, frankly, this is not something that can be algorithmically quantified. It is not mathematical. It is subjective. Left or right-wing opinions are very much subjective. What is left-wing to one person may be right-wing to another, may be centrist to another. And so this is not something that you can actually identify using an algorithm like they purport to do. So I think that Ground News has actually a fairly large, in my experience, left-wing bias. It tends to label things that are left-wing as centrist, and things that I find personally offensive to my religion, which is Christianity, hence the conservative Christian commentator. I think that in an ideal world, probably in an Overton window-centered world, I would be somewhere in the center, and I think most people would be. I like to call it the sensible center, and I believe I would probably be in the center, but it's shifted so far to the left that I have essentially become right-wing, and I'm fine with that. I don't particularly care about what party I affiliate myself with, but I'm generally conservative in my beliefs and in my actions. So, tangent ended, back to Honey. Honey has been really prevalent over the years with tons and tons and tons and tons of influencers and nobody asking any questions about it. And anyone who does ask questions gets kind of shouted down and being like, dude, they're an awesome service. Why are you even asking questions? kind of in the same way that people who asked questions about Mr. Beast were shot down. And now I believe that asking bad faith questions is really not productive, and there are definitely some people who are asking bad faith questions about Mr. Beast and about Honey and about a whole bunch of other things. But questions should be asked, and there needs to be a balance there. I don't know how to strike that balance, but there does need to be a balance. And they were definitely not balanced in how people approached it. So Honey was essentially going undetected for like 4, 5, 6 years, for a very, very long time. I don't remember exactly how long, but they've been going under the radar for a long time until they got exposed. And it's good that they've gotten exposed now, but how much more is there to expose with them and with other companies? I like to go with Voltaire's saying of those you cannot question rule over you. And we couldn't really question Honey for a very long time until someone actually came out with decent research. And this is why you gotta research your opinions and research your hypotheses and actually come up with good, concrete evidence before coming forward with your questions, because otherwise it just makes you look like someone who is way too suspicious of everything, and that doesn't end up being a productive life model. So, Honey is essentially something I never have installed, and I'm proud to say that I've never installed Honey. I never felt the slightest desire to, and every time I did start to feel the slightest desire because a creator that I loved started promoting it, I was suddenly realizing, well, hang on, how are they paying that creator to support them, to promote them? And now we know. But be skeptical of things, because Honey is probably one of the least obtrusive things that has crossed into the scandal territory. So the things that are unobtrusive are usually things that have some kind of secret behind them, and whether that's a good secret or a bad secret or an entirely boring secret like 99% of secrets are, it's good to try to figure out what those secrets are. Don't trust necessarily people who claim to have degrees or people who claim to have knowledge. Trust what they say if they have evidence to back it up. Critical thinking is a skill that does not appear to be widely distributed in our society today. But with all that aside, the biggest question that I think nobody has yet asked about Honey is, was Honey always like this? And if you ask me, in my opinion, and I don't have any research to back this up, I don't have any facts to back this up, the only thing that I'm going off of is the general trend of businesses start small and idealistic and then grow to be big and predatory over time as they grow successful. It's one of those things of you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain. I think that happened to Honey. Now, I don't know exactly when this happened, and I don't know if PayPal had anything to do with it, but I do know that I would say I'm fairly confident that Honey actually started out doing exactly what it said it was going to do, and people loved it because it did exactly what it said it was going to do, and it found all of the discount codes that it possibly could. And then probably due to pressure from businesses who were like, this is ruining our business, they probably got pressured to allow businesses to pay them to not show coupon codes, and they probably also started poaching creator codes that a while ago, around the same time. If I had my druthers, I think that would be probably what happened. But I think that Honey was originally something like that. So it's important to, when you start a business or a channel or anything at all, any kind of venture, even like a church or something, it's important to always be on your guard against corruption, especially the bigger you get. Because the bigger you get, the more easy it is to become corrupt, and the more easy it is to allow people in who are corrupt and who will corrupt your business. It only takes one bad apple to sour the whole bag, or the whole basket if you're old school. But I think Honey started out good, but it's an important lesson to realize once again that it's not easy to resist the corruption that comes from the fact that we live in a fallen world. Now, I've seen a lot of people online attributing this to the fact that we live in a capitalist society. We're not actually strictly capitalist, we're regulated capitalist, which is a whole other different topic, which I don't have an economics degree, so I'm not entirely qualified to talk about, so I haven't studied this as much as some other people. but essentially we're not 100% capitalist, which is probably actually kind of a good thing, because 100% of one thing, 100% of something flawed is never really a good thing. You want to have things to kind of cover the flaws. But I believe fundamentally capitalism is a good system that tries to use the human flaws against itself. And because it's a fundamentally human-created system, it does not actually, it actually has its own flaws. It does not actually do as well as it hopes to do, and so that's why we need regulation. That's why we need laws and such, and we're currently way over-regulated, and that's a whole other topic. But people are attributing this to capitalism. No, things like this also happen under communism, except they're way worse because the people with the money also have all the power. It kind of tracks across capitalist and also communist societies, but even more so in communist societies, as we've seen historically from the hundreds of millions of people who have died. Like 500 million people, I think, have died in total, and directly from communist societies, because the people at the top hogged all of the resources. And we talk about the wealth divide in America a lot, but the wealth divide in, say, communist Russia was ridiculously much worse. And, I mean, there's a saying that communist societies are good at distributing resources and capitalist societies are good at producing them, but really the reality is that both are kind of bad at both. But I think capitalist societies, on the whole, are better from the get-go, and they have a better foundation on which to build. But it's important to build on that foundation and actually find something that is valuable. So, with all that being said, thank you very much for watching. If you believe this video was good, then please feel free to share it. If you don't believe it was good, then feel free to not share it. And I hope to see you again sometime soon. Thank you very much.